Chapter 171, What It Means to Be a Sage. Yi-Yun walked to the metal box and picked out a primal arrow. The moment he touched the arrow's shaft, the ice-cold metal caused his heart to palpitate. With his legs firmly planted to the ground, his left arm forward and right arm in the back, he applied pressure to the primal arrow. He did not choose to use his shoulder to lift the primal arrow, he wanted to use his two hands to carry the thick divine arrow. Baldy Chin was right. A spear had to be stabbed using one's hands, so how could one lift it with his shoulders to stab? This kid, Zhou Kuei, could tell what Yi-Yun was up to. Carrying the primal arrow with one's hands was much more difficult than lifting it with one's shoulders. Taking a deep breath, Yi-Yun's eyes flashed. Using his legs and hips, he exerted strength into his two shoulders and arms. He used all his strength at that moment. Up! Yi-Yun's muscles bulged as his veins twisted. The primal arrow was lifted up by him. It was really ridiculously heavy. Yi-Yun clearly felt the terrifying weight of the primal arrow. It pulled on his arm muscles, nearly tearing them. The Xuanwu army members suffered a crushing defeat trying to lift the primal arrow, and it was not without reason. This kid really lifted it. When the Xuanwu army members saw this scene, their eyelids twitched. But lifting the primal arrow was just the first step. The real difficulty was inserting the divine arrow into the purple tungsten wall. With the primal arrow in hand, Yi-Yun slid his arms forward to the middle of the primal arrow center. They could see Yi-Yun's arm tremble. This was because his muscles could not bear the tremendous pressure from the primal arrow and they were protesting. This proved that Yi-Yun was at the verge of his limits. If it was a month ago, it would have been impossible for Yi-Yun to lift something like the primal arrow. But now, within Yi-Yun's dantian, his qi was slowly circulating. This energy was from the primordial species power of desolates. The primordial species energy was extremely pure. Upon entering Yi-Yun's bloodstream, it made Yi-Yun feel rejuvenated, cleansing his marrows. This primordial species energy had given Yi-Yun strength ever since the frog jumps. It had been slowly melting into Yi-Yun's flesh and blood. Brother Yi, all the best. Yi-Yun, go. The Jin Longwei members clenched their fists and cheered for Yi-Yun. Yi-Yun looked at the purple tungsten wall, and with his teeth clenched, he charged forward. Every step he made on the ground caused a violent tremor in the special tiles on the ground. Yi-Yun rapidly raised the primal arrow up. Both his hands jerked forward. Dang! With a loud rumble, the primal arrow made a heavy impact on the purple tungsten wall. A tremendous rebound force sent Yi-Yun backwards as his blood surged around his body. So hard. The purple tungsten wall was terrifyingly hard. The primal arrow only managed to pierce half a foot deep into it. This depth was not enough to keep the primal arrow stuck within the purple tungsten wall. Releasing it would make the primal arrow drop. A vein appeared on Yi-Yun's forehead as he clenched his teeth. He took a few steps back and, using the strength from both his hands, he sent the primal arrow back in. Dang! The second impact made Yi-Yun felt as if he heard all the muscles within his body tear. Not far away, the people shuddered with fear. Yi-Yun had actually used the primal arrow to pierce the wall twice. But he had failed both times. The strength of the second impact was weaker than the first. Although it sent the arrow deeper in, it was still less than a foot. At this point, Yi-Yun's muscles and tendons had been injured from the tear. He could not carry on. Ding dang! The primal arrow fell to the ground. Yi-Yun's arms trembled gently. Training one's strength could not be done overnight. Although Yi-Yun had absorbed the primordial species energy from the wilderness divine hall, he was still worse than those who had been training their strength for long periods of time and soaked in herbs from a young age. Compared to peerless geniuses like Lin Xintong, the gap was even greater. Yi-Yun needed time to catch up. Weak. Baldy Chin's evaluation was only a single word. This word was used to evaluate the 100 people, including Yi-Yun. Yi Yun was silent. He knew the strength he displayed was considered normal. In terms of movement skills, he had minute subtlety. But in terms of strength, he had no trump card. Just the training from the flowing mercury gown did not give him reason to compare with those geniuses. The atmosphere was solemn for a moment. After a long silence, Baldy Chin said, "Many years ago, when I was about the same age as you, I came to the Taiya Divine City. My first training lesson was also like this, and back then, I did not manage to pierce a single primal arrow." Baldy Chin's words made many youths raise their heads towards the bald, middle-aged man. He was thin and had a scar on his face. Compared to before, his expression now looked less foul, and had a tinge of nostalgia and tenderness. Instructor Chin was also once a trainee in the Taiya Divine City? Baldy Chin carried on, "My results made me discouraged, especially when I saw the primal arrow piercing record on the Sages Avenue." Did you notice it? There were too many record platforms on Sages Avenue, hence, they did not see it all while they walked past. They shook their heads. Baldy Chin said, "There is a special record for inserting the primal arrow into the purple tungsten wall. There are 3 requirements to leave a record. 1. The cultivator has to be at 15 years of age or below. 2. Their cultivation level has to be below the Yuan Foundation realm. 3. There is a 15-minute time limit to insert using the primal arrow." Back then, the record was 109 pierces into the purple tungsten wall using the primal arrow. 109. When they heard this, they drew a breath of cold air. This number was too ridiculous. They felt a heavy pressure. From Baldy Chin's description, the person who used the primal arrow to insert 109 times was most likely at the peak of the purple blood realm. This person's cultivation level was higher than theirs, but not much higher. Many of them could not even lift the primal arrow, not to mention insert it in. And that person had inserted it 109 times. The gap was too wide. Yi Yun looked at the numerous marks on the purple tungsten wall. He asked, "Instructor, I want to ask, how old was the person when he left the record?" The ridiculous number that was 109 had also shocked Yi Yun. At that time, he had just turned 14. The requirements demand that a person not be above 15 years of age. But many geniuses would break through to the Yuan Foundation before 15 years of age. The 15 years age limit is just for geniuses who began their cultivation later. 14 years old. Peak of purple blood at 14. Yi Yun was almost 13 years old and his cultivation level was only at the beginning stages of purple blood. He still had about a year to work towards his goal. Baldy Chin said, "Now, that record has been unchallenged for 3,000 years. In the past 3,000 years, the nearest record was only 105. And that person who left the record eventually became a sage. Do you have any concept of what a sage is?" Upon mentioning sages, Baldy Chin's expression turned into one of admiration. Sages are top human elites. In the Taiya Divine City, to become a sage, you can choose to become an elder of the Divine City. A Taiya elder has certain control over the Taiya Divine City's resources. They stay above the 90th floor in the central Divine Tower. There are so many benefits. Taiya elders do not number more than a handful. The largest number of Taiya Divine City elders has never exceeded 10 in all of history. And in the entire vast Taiya Divine Kingdom, including the royal family and reclusive families, there are more sages, but there's not that many more. A sage's lifespan can reach 10,000 years or above. By counting in this way, in the entire Taiya Divine Kingdom, there might not be more than one sage every 500 years. But do you know how many rookies are sent to train in the Taiya Divine City? You probably know the numbers. There are 2,000 a year. Each batch spends 6 years. Hence, the number of young elites training in the Taiya Divine City maintains an average of 12,000 people. In this unshakable Taiya Divine City, there are no shortage of cultivators. There are 12,000 people in 6 years, 120,000 in 60 years. Then what about 500 years? It's 1,000,000 people. And these people are the elites from all around the Tai divine kingdom. 1,000,000 elites, and a sage might not even appear. Can you understand the concept of this probability? People often say so-and-so has absolute talent and is a youth sage. When their talent was evaluated, there is the so-called mystic rank human lord level, the earth rank sage level, and the heaven rank great emperor level. But in reality, those geniuses who were called youth sages have a very low probability of becoming a sage. The young heroes who had been evaluated to be of earth rank sage levels only have a chance, and would they be able to? Difficult. Baldachin's words made the young heroes present speechless. A sage once every 500 years. 1,000,000 Tai divine city elites might not even give rise to one. Qin Haotian was currently the number one person on both the heaven and earth rolls of honor in the Tai divine city. He was labeled as a youth sage. But even he did not have a 1% chance of becoming a sage. The atmosphere turned silent. Baldachin was not afraid to pour cold water on them. If their martial art compass could be so easily distorted by some cold water, then they were destined to never succeed. Yi Yun ruminated over Baldachin's words. Back in the Cloud Wilderness Tao tribal clan, Yi Yun had been evaluated and his results were just Mystic Rank Grade 5. That was a human lord level. As for Lian Qingyu and Tao Yunxiao, they were just at the yellow rank, or human elites. People evaluated as sage rank geniuses might not become a sage. He was just at the human lord level, and even amongst the human lords, his evaluation was not at the pinnacle. Then, he was still a long distance away. But Yi Yun was not discouraged. After all, how long had he been practicing martial arts? Not more than half a year. In half a year, it was normal if he could not match those who came from martial art families and began training from the age of 5. The road ahead of Yi Yun was still long. Yi Yun and company's training lasted all the way till sunset. Including Yi Yun, all of them were exhausted. They felt like a layer of skin had been peeled off. But, all the way till the end, there were only 10 people who could lift the primal arrow. Among those 10, besides Zhou Kuei and Yi Yun, the rest were Xuanwu army members who had rested for a long time. They could just about manage to lift the primal arrow in a better condition. But no one left a mark deeper than 1 foot in the purple tungsten wall using the primal arrow. From today onwards, you can come to this school ground to train at any time. This purple tungsten wall is for you to use. 30 days. I will give you 30 days time. If anyone can pierce 3 primal arrows into the purple tungsten wall by then, I will reward him with 2 hours of cultivation time in the Wilderness Divine Hall. Just before dismissing them, Baldachin suddenly said those words, stirring the hearts of the youths. A reward of cultivation time in the Wilderness Divine Hall? Not only Yi Yun, everyone else was yearning to cultivate in the Wilderness Divine Hall. The primordial species sculptures in the Wilderness Divine Hall was extremely beneficial for them. If they could enter occasionally, their cultivation level would increase by leaps and bounds. But, there was no doubt that it was not an easy task to stick 3 primal arrows into the purple tungsten wall in 30 days. And, the reward given by Baldachin was only 2 hours. Either Baldachin was stingy, or the cultivation time within the Wilderness Divine Hall was too precious, making it difficult to enter. Instructor Qin, if one wants to spend dragon scale runes to enter the Wilderness Divine Hall, how much is it? Someone could not help but ask. Instructor Qin sneered, "Ha! All of you look like a group of defeated soldiers. If I said it crudely, letting the current you enter the Wilderness Divine Hall is a waste of resources. You are only using the Wilderness Divine Hall to endure the pressure to forge your body and condense your blood? That is such a waste of a treasure. The most important thing in the Wilderness Divine Hall is the nomology left behind by the first city lord. When you can gain any insight of this nomology, no matter how tiny, then you will have entered the path of martial arts. A little achievement will be a great advantage, but did any of you learn anything about the nomological truths? Instructor Chin fiercely swept across them with hawk-like eyes. Many of the youths lowered their heads. The nomological truths were too far away. After all, it was their first time entering the Wilderness Divine Hall. Their cultivation levels were low too. The pressure from the primordial species was almost unbearable. As for gaining any insight to the nomological truths, ignoring perceptivity alone, all their strength was used to bear the Wilderness Divine Hall's pressure. Where did they have the mental strength to gain insight into the truths? Many of them felt humbled. They were proud geniuses in their own cities, but upon arriving in the Tai Divine City, they could not succeed in anything. They were last in everything. A youth mumbled, "The next time we enter, we will definitely gain some insight." The youth was short of breath, because he had no clout in front of Baldy Chin. He. Baldy Chin sneered. The youth who spoke before immediately felt like a cricket who got frightened by a cold late autumn breeze. He did not dare to say a word. Next time? To enter the Wilderness Divine Hall, 2 hours is 1,000 dragon scale runes. There is no idea when your next time will be. Earn 1,000 dragon scale runes before talking. The youth who spoke out shrunk his neck. He did not dare to retort the bald man. 1,000 dragon scale runes, we do not know how much that is. How difficult is it to earn 1,000 dragon scale runes? A youth asked. Yun thought and asked, "Instructor Chin, may I know what the quickest ways to earn dragon scale runes are?" Many of the youths present wanted to enter the Wilderness Divine Hall again, but the one who wanted that the most was none other than Yun. Every entrance into the Wilderness Divine Hall made Yun's strength increase by leaps and bounds. No one could gain more from the Wilderness Divine Hall than Yun. Currently, Yun had already absorbed most of the primordial species energy. He felt that his cultivation level was approaching the middle stages of purple blood. Baldy Chin said, "To earn dragon scale runes, there are 6 common ways. First, kill desolate beasts, and exchange the desolate beasts' corpses with the Tai Divine City for dragon scale runes. If you are strong, then earning dragon scale runes would be very fast. But, the strength needed to hunt a desolate beast is extremely high. People such as you who go limp just from 2 hours in the Wilderness Divine Hall will only become food for the desolate beasts if you go to hunt in the Divine Wilderness. The second method is also fast. It is by earning dragon scale runes from other cultivators. For example, trading with others or fighting with others in a gambling match. The Tai Divine City's fighting arenas not only allow you to bet dragon scale runes, even glory points can be bet. But I advise you not to go. With your current strength, you will be sheep for the slaughter. In front of a pack of wolves, you will lose all you have. The third method is to get onto the 3 rolls of honors. Every month, when the ranking is compiled, a sizable amount of dragon scale runes will be awarded. Of course, that is if you can enter the roll. There is probably no chance for you in the next 2 years. The fourth method is to complete certain achievements, such as breaking a record, or gaining insight into some nomology. It can give you a massive one-off amount of dragon scale runes, but, naturally that has nothing to do with you. The fifth method is to receive rewards from your instructor. But do you think that with your qualifications, I will reward you with any dragon scale runes? The last method, doing miscellaneous jobs, by mining, picking herbs, or be a sparring partner for others to earn dragon scale runes. This method is of course slow, but the advantage is, as long as you are a human, you can do it. Baldy Chin's words never left the concept of "you guys are weak." The young heroes were dumbfounded upon hearing this. In the end, among the most common 6 methods, the first 5 methods of earning dragon scale runes had nothing to do with them. They felt like Baldy Chin was just telling them about those methods simply for his own amusement. The most viable route was the last one, which was the least technical one, doing miscellaneous jobs. It was slow in earning dragon scale runes and it didn't sound good. Before they could cultivate in the Tai Divine City, they had to do miscellaneous jobs. But for their training, they had to concede into doing miscellaneous jobs. This was, after all, the Taya Divine City, which was a warrior's city. There were no normal mortals, and there weren't many weaker warriors. Then who was left to do the miscellaneous jobs in the city? Of course, it had to be them. Because they were probably the weakest bunch in the Taya Divine City. Then, Instructor Chin, I would like to ask. If we did miscellaneous jobs, how many dragon scale runes would we make a day? A youth could not help but ask. It depends on what you do. Typically, it's about 20 or so a day. Hearing Instructor Chin's words, the youths present felt like their hearts were in a stampede of 10,000 near-horned beasts with mud-stained hoofs. 20 or so a day? Then wouldn't they need to save a month or two before they could finally spend 2 hours in the Wilderness Divine Hall? This must be a joke. They knew that there were many cultivation resources in the Taya Divine City, and they were not limited to the Wilderness Divine Hall. There were other uses for the Dragon Scale Runes. Dragon Scale Runes were needed to purchase 90% of the Taya Divine City's cultivation resources. It was impossible of them to refrain from eating or drinking just to save all of their Dragon Scale Runes so that they could enter the Wilderness Divine Hall. No wonder Baldy Chin said, there is no guarantee when your next time will be. If they were to carry on like this, they were destined to not have anything to do with the Wilderness Divine Hall. And it was obvious that there were other precious cultivation resources in the Taya Divine City that were like the Wilderness Divine Hall. To obtain those, they needed thousands or tens of thousands Dragon Scale Runes. I see. That's why rookies have 2 hours in the Wilderness Divine Hall cultivation time upon entering the Taya Divine City. This is to tell the rookies that the Taya Divine City is filled with good things. If you have the ability, come get it. This is to inspire the morale of the rookies. They are not counting on rookies to gain any insight of the founding city lord's nomological truths in that 2 hours. Yi Yun understood. The person who had set up the various rules in the Taya Divine City had put a lot of thought into it. Many of the young heroes were now a little discouraged. Ha! Do you think that the Taya Divine City's resources are prepared for you? There are so many cultivators in the Taya Divine City. There are limited top-level resources, how can it possibly be allocated? In the Taya Divine City, there is a strong polarization. Less than 10% of the experts here account for 90% of the resources. What do you think the reason for gathering all the talent in the Taya Divine City is? Oh! Hearing Baldy Chin's words, they were dumbfounded. A youth said weakly, isn't it to focus on nurturing us by gathering here in the Taya Divine City? To them, the Taya Divine City's resources were prepared for cultivators like them. Focus on nurturing? Baldy Chin laughed. It's indeed correct. It is to focus on nurturing. But this method is different from what you think. Have you heard of breeding venomous worms? Those who breed them will put all sorts of poisonous worms inside a jar. They will then feed all sorts of poisonous foods to the worms, letting them grow. Later, the jar will be sealed and no food will be provided. This to let the worms fight and devour each other. Only one will be left from a few hundred worms. And that will be the king worm. The most venomous worm. Right now, you are the worms being captured. The Divine Kingdom wants to nurture you, but it only wants to nurture a small number of you. The rest are destined to be eliminated. They are destined to become the stepping stones for those chosen to be proud sons of heaven. Chapter 173, Way to Earn Runes. Rearing worms? Hearing Baldy Chin's analogy, the young heroes felt disgruntled. They were all outstanding figures from their own lands, but the first thing they encountered in the Divine Wilderness City was for them to be fodder. To gather all of them, it was only to make them fight against each other, eliminating the weak to decide who was the king worm. Baldy Chin said, only the strongest from a circle of mighty warriors is the real king. Your circle decides your future. Hence, all of you are competitors. Human peerless experts come from stepping on numerous geniuses to reach the pinnacle of martial arts. Not a single sage from a million people. How many young heroes have to be stepped on for a sage to be born in the Taiya Divine City? The Taiya Divine City gives everyone the same conditions. It all depends on you, whether you become a peerless expert or a stepping stone that will be trampled on. Baldy Chin said with no holds barred. Upon hearing this, the young heroes were filled with mixed emotions. Success was built on a foundation of thousands of skeletons. No one wanted to become a stepping stone for others to trample on them. Immediately, many of the youths felt a crushing sense of danger. Whether it was the wilderness divine hall's temptation, the thirst to accomplish great achievements, or the strong sense of danger, they were all spurred on to continue climbing higher. Humans were never satisfied. Many of the young heroes present were from good family clans, and they came to this mysterious sacred land, the Taiya Divine City, for cultivation, which was brilliant in and of itself. But they knew that they were now being saddled with pressures. Some of them had to face fierce competition within the family for resources and stature. Some had to shoulder the heavy burden of the family's prosperity. How could they become fodder? The pressure that they faced was not any better than the pressure Lin Xingyu faced before the kingdom's selection. Most of the young heroes from every corner of the Divine Kingdom had to settle for miscellaneous jobs to earn dragon scale runes. The experiences they had in the Taiya Divine City made them understand that, however perfect people may be, someone better will always appear. By not exceeding others, they had to begin from zero. There are about 10 types of miscellaneous jobs. There is no fixed compensation. However much you make depends on your own skill. But generally speaking, there are some errands that are more profitable than others. I'll begin from the highest. The highest is to be a sparring partner. Some veteran cultivators will need someone to spar with them during their cultivation. After wearing protective gear, you will spar with them. Upon enduring a certain amount of time, you will receive a corresponding amount of dragon scale runes. If you have some skill, you can take on sparring missions with rich people and the corresponding compensation will be significantly more. Of course, it is also easy to get injured. Additionally, it is highly likely that you might end up bedridden for half a month. Sparring? Isn't that just being a punching bag for others? These young heroes were prideful people. If it was in the past, they would find it unacceptable to do such shameful jobs. But after hearing Baldy Chin's words and after undergoing the training, their pride had received repeated blows. They did not mind anymore, because without strength, how were they qualified to speak about dignity? Besides, being a punching bag was better than being fodder. To become an expert, one had to bear the weight, and they had to learn how to take a beating. The second highest is forging. None of you have the ability to refine weapons, but it's alright. Parts of the weapon refining process requires the forging of some special metals. Using a forging hammer, you need to forge it 1,000,000 times and up. If you think you have the exceptional strength needed, then you can take on this mission. The third is to patrol the walls and maintain the ballisty on the walls. This is a demanding job that requires you to know arrays. These 3 are the highest paying jobs. Following that, there are more relatively common ones, like standing guard in the school ground or the city entrance. Or taking care of the spirit beasts reared in the Taiya Divine City's beast pens, picking herbs, managing the distribution of daily necessities, etc. The last few are usually done by females. Baldy Chin finished introducing the various jobs. Upon hearing them, many of the youths felt that the first 3 were much more reliable. The first one, which was to be a punching bag, didn't sound good, but by sparring with an expert, they could learn the offensive skills of the other. By dodging and getting beaten, they could gain the experience of fighting with an expert. Besides, the pay was good, which made it the most suitable job. I'll apply for the first. I'll apply for the first 2, as a sparring partner. The youths present immediately expressed their wishes. Baldy Chin's memory was good, and he remembered everyone's application. I'll apply for the second one, forging. My strength is pretty good. By hitting a few 100,000 times, it can also train my strength. By then, I refuse to believe that I cannot pierce this purple tungsten wall 40 to 50 times with the primal arrows. Zhou rolled up his sleeves and said with a low muffled voice. He too wanted to stretch himself to obtain good results. He had received too much shock in just a day. I'll apply for the first, sparring. Song Zijuan said. Among the group of people, he could feel the pressure. Although they were said to be weak by Baldy Chin, compared to them, Song Zijuan was weaker than more than half of them. There was fierce competition, even for doing miscellaneous jobs. After making his decision, Song Zijuan looked at Yi Yun, along with Baldy Chin. Up to this point, Yi Yun's performance was the most outstanding. Although it had not amazed Baldy Chin, he believed that with 6 years of training, Yi Yun would definitely shine. Although it was impossible for Yi Yun to enter the top 1,000 in the first year, he had great promise to enter the top 1,000 within 3 years. Baldy Chin also wished he could develop a talent. Yi Yun thought for a while and smiled. I'll apply for, herb picking. Yi Yun's simple sentence shocked the young heroes present. Herb picking? Baldy Chin also slightly raised his eyebrow. Very few of the students he had taken in had applied for picking herbs, and they were all female. After all, females could only be sparring partners for other females. If there were too many sparring partners, men could still do other jobs like forging. Females were not suitable for forging. Similarly, patrolling and maintaining the ballistae was typically not something girls did. Hence, those girls, who couldn't be sparring partners, ended up at jobs like picking herbs, taking care of the spirit beasts, and distributing materials. But Yi Yun, who Baldy Chin felt had good prospects, wanted to pick herbs? As such, the other young heroes looked at Yi Yun weirdly. Isn't this guy pretty strong? With his abilities, he would do well either in sparring or forging. Why would he pick herbs? It can't be for him to get to know girls while picking herbs, and then trick them into giving their bodies to him? Or to push them down in the herb mountain and do it in the wild? Many people thought negatively of Yi Yun, for they could see no reason for him to enter the female bunch. Herb picking? Are you sure? Baldy Chin looked Yi Yun in the eye, hoping to see Yi Yun change his decision. Yes. I am sure. Yi Yun nodded. Baldy Chin pinched his eyes, as if he saw something from Yi Yun's body. Today I'll submit the name list. Once it is submitted, there can be no more changes in the next 3 months. Not only is picking herbs slow at making dragon scale runes, it also does not help much in training your strength. I'll ask you one more time, are you sure you want to pick herbs? I am sure. Yi Yun replied calmly and firmly. The surrounding people were speechless. It was clear that Baldy Chin was appreciative of Yi Yun for him to say that much, but Yi Yun was not appreciative. Instructor Chin frowned. Finally, he shook his head. The decision was up to the trainee, and he would not interfere. Since Yi Yun had made the decision, it was not up to him. All right. I'll apply for the herb-picking job for you. I'll give you a word of advice. In the Taya Divine City, slightly exceptional people aren't that great. It is very easy for them to drown in the vast sea of people, never to be seen again. Among the 2,000 rookies this time, there were several good seedlings. The 100 people, that is you who came from the Jing state or the southeastern states near the Jing state. Compared to the Zhong state or the imperial city, or those that were directly referred from the reclusive families, you are greatly lacking. You probably do not know this. A day ago, in this school ground, a genius youth rookie by the nickname of Chionyo pierced this purple tungsten wall 7 times. He was from a reclusive family clan. And 2 days ago, a girl from the imperial city managed to gain some nomological insight from the primordial species sculpture in the Wilderness Divine Hall. This girl's name is Chu Xiaoran and she is the beloved daughter of the defender Duke of the Tai Imperial Dynasty. Instructor Qin's words made all of their eyelids twitch. The defender Duke's beloved daughter. Genius youth from a reclusive family clan. A defender Duke was a Duke of the Tai Divine Kingdom. A Duke together with the words defender in his title made him an official of the highest level. As for the reclusive family clan, that was even more terrifying. In the Tai Divine Kingdom, some of the large family clans had family heritages that were unfathomably deep, and they might even be comparable to the royal family. Some of these family clans had a longer history than the Tai Divine Kingdom. Some of them existed before the Tai Divine Kingdom was built, or even a few dynasties before, as they passed down one generation after the other. Some family clans had helped the founding Divine Emperor of the Tai Divine Kingdom gain its territories. As such, they were given 9 big states of the Divine Kingdom's territories by the founding Divine Emperor as their eternal fiefdoms. These family clans had marriages with the Tai Divine Kingdom royal family for generations, creating an integral relationship between the two. It could be said that these family clans were the reason why the Tai Divine Kingdom could last for so many years. Due to the detachment of these family clans, ordinary people had no access to them. Hence, they were called reclusive family clans, not because they were really hidden. As for Zhou Kuei and company, they came from large families, but their families were from the Jing state or the surrounding small states. Those kind of families just occupied a small province of a state. A provincial family clan had no way to compare with the reclusive family clans at the Divine Kingdom level. Chapter 174, Even Picking Herbs Has a Record? Yi Yun said, "Thank you for Instructor Qin's advice. This junior understands what the instructor is saying. However perfect people may be, someone better will always appear." He barely insert a single primal arrow, but a genius youth from a reclusive family had inserted 7. The gap was obvious. Baldy Qin's eyelids jumped. "Can you tell me your reason?" He felt that for Yi Yun to stick to his beliefs meant that he had to have some reason, or else it would be too difficult to understand. Yi Yun said, "There's no special reason. In the past, when I was in the Cloud Wilderness, I picked herbs every day to earn a living. Once I could walk, I began picking herbs. Thus, after all these years, I have accumulated some experience picking herbs. Also, I have some talent in picking herbs, so I think I will do well." Yi Yun casually gave an explanation, but when this fell onto the surrounding people's ears, they were stunned and looked at Yi Yun oddly. Cloud Wilderness? Picking herbs to earn a living? The young heroes present had sometimes gone to pick herbs, but that was only when they were searching for treasures that could aid in their breakthroughs. Who needed to pick herbs for a living? They did not believe that one of them was previously a medicine boy, and was even from the Cloud Wilderness. They knew Yi Yun's strength was greater than theirs. This made it even more difficult for them to accept. A medicine boy from the poor, barren Cloud Wilderness was better than all of them who came from family clans? It made them speechless. It was like a mule had infiltrated a group of horses and then it defeated all of the horses. A mule was not necessarily worse than a horse. It excelled in endurance and strength, and it ate less. Although a horse was weaker, making it unable to do heavy work, it was better at running fast. It could be said that each had their own advantages, but no one would wish they were the hard-working mule instead of the horse. Now, the group of horses could choose a job that could train their abilities, yet Yi Yun chose to pick herbs. It was like the horses had chosen to go on the battlefield, but the mule had chosen to go mill grinding. And the reason was, he had done this in the Cloud Wilderness and it was his trade. Besides, he even said he had talent in picking herbs. This made them at a loss on whether to laugh or to cry. What talent was there in herb picking? Who couldn't pick herbs? This kid. What the hell? Zhou Kuei gave a frowning look at Yi Yun. He had engaged with Yi Yun a few times, and except for not necessarily losing the last round, he had lost the other 2 times. He knew of Yi Yun's strength, making him curious. Don't mind him, Brother Kuei. I guess this kid must have been hooked on being a bumpkin. People who come from the vast wilderness have a special way of thinking. Old Xiong is right. Brother Kuei, since we have come to the Taiya Divine City, we need to quickly accumulate dragon scale runes to increase our strength. This way we can go out to hunt or engage in other high-risk, high-reward jobs. How can picking herbs be a fast way of accumulating dragon scale runes? This kid Yun may be stronger than us by a bit, but since he wants to take the road of ruin, no one can stop him. Maybe later, he will drown in an ocean of people, and he will become a stepping stone for us to trample upon. The people from the Xuanwu army privately transmitted their voices. They were complete strangers to Yun, so they would not say much. It should be said that for someone to make a foolish decision, they would actually gloat, as they were all competitors. Baldy Qin shook his head. Finally, he gave up on persuading Yun. He said, "Then take care of yourselves. Among the rookies every year, there will be a few exceptional ones. In 2 years' time, both Zhonyo, Zhu Xiaoran will become the young Qian and Yao Dao you saw previously. The two of them have the chance to enter the top 1,000 spots in the Heaven or Earth Roll of Honor within a year, but you? How long would it take to enter the top 1,000? Furthermore, will you even be able to enter the top 1,000 before you leave the Taiya Divine City?" Saying those words, Baldy Qin left. Baldy Qin had said that whoever managed to enter the top 1,000 places in the Taiya Divine City, they would receive the attention of all the various large factions within the Divine Kingdom. To enter the top 1,000 in 1 year meant that it was easy to enter the top 200 in 2 years. At 3 years, it would be the top 50 to 60. When leaving the Taiya Divine City after 6 years, they were likely to enter the top 5 or top 3, even being the first. Being first in the Taiya Divine City's Roll of Honor sounded too far. The person taking that spot was someone who Yao Dao and Yang Xian were a far cry from. And Yao Dao and Yang Xian were someone that they were too far behind to catch up with. The gap was obvious. Yun ignored the opinions of others. After he had his dinner, he went straight back to his residence. He began meditating, allowing his body to slowly fuse with the primordial species essence. After a night, when the sky lit up, the Taiya Divine City was still filled with fog. After Yun finished washing up, he prepared to report for his job. Song Zijuan also came out. The both of them lived close to one another. Today, Song Zijuan had changed into an ordinary bunch shirt and looked less like a wealthy young master, and had a little more rustic flavor. Yun, you picking herbs is such a waste. Your movement skills at your age are the best I've seen in my whole life. Song Zijuan was still completely puzzled over Yun's decision. The most important part about being a sparring partner was not to be resilient against attacks. Even if you were resilient against attacks, after being hit multiple times, you would still get beaten down. The most powerful sparring partner was the type that could dodge attacks and protect himself. Yun had entered the large success stage of minute subtlety, meaning he would have great benefits as a sparring partner. Song Zijuan was actually very envious, but now Yun was going to pick herbs, which was a waste of a treasure. Are you really not thinking of following me? Song Zijuan still felt some regret over Yun's decision. No. Yun smiled and waved at Song Zijuan. Song Zijuan shook his head. Forget it, you have your own decisions. My thoughts might not suit you. Ever since Yun managed to reach the threshold of the large success stage of minute subtlety, Song Zijuan had greatly admired Yun. Although Yun's decision was odd, Song Zijuan believed that Yun had his reasons. 15 minutes later, Yun reached his job's location. The different types of miscellaneous jobs had their own respective locations. Since sparring was very popular, it resulted in a surplus of applicants, producing a long line. But the job of picking herbs was much quieter. Yun reached his destination. He found a few girls who were arranging the herbs leisurely. When these girls saw Yun, they were a bit surprised. When they saw that Yun was in rookie attire, it was apparent he was a rookie that just entered the Tai Divine City. To be a boy and pick herbs as a rookie was unbelievable. Boys who occasionally came to pick herbs usually suffered some injuries, resulting in them being unfit for sparring or forging, hence, they came to pick herbs. Yun ignored the girls and reported his name, receiving a drug basket, a jade box to hold the herbs, and a map of the herb mountain. The person in charge was a 30-odd-year-old woman with last name Wang. She was indifferent with Yun's arrival, and she just kept looking into her mirror. She kept fiddling with a lock of her hair, but she was never satisfied with whatever position it was in. Even as the herb-picking person in charge, she herself felt that herb-picking was a dead-end business. Seeing Yun coming to dawdle at his young age made her have no good feelings for Yun. This sister. May I ask how many dragon scale runes are exchanged for the herbs picked by this junior? The wine girl glanced at Yun and placed her mirror down. This was probably because Yun used the word sister, making her feel good, hence, she grew some patience for this lazy child who came to pick herbs. She threw a manual at Yun and said, "This is the exchange table of the herbs and dragon scales. Look at it yourself." Yun caught the manual and flipped to the first page. Seeing the words on the first page, Yun was shocked. The first page wrote, Qingli Year 82, Zhou Mi picked 630 pounds of herbs using 60 days, obtaining 19,260 dragon scale runes. He had broken the records of the ancestors. This record is to encourage future generations. Record? This can't be. Even a miscellaneous job like picking herbs has a record? Zhou Mi, in 60 days, broke a record picking herbs. Chapter 175, Luawat Association. Thinking that Yun was making a fuss, the Wang woman grunted, "Is it strange to have a record?" Although herb picking has no future, those who work hard at one job and specialize in it, the Divine City will still recognize them and reward them. In the Divine City, anything that can be quantified will have a record, including things like forging. As for the herb picking record, that was from 2,000 to 3,000 years ago. The person who breaks a record will get a one-time reward of 10,000 dragon scale runes and a glory point. 10,000 dragon scale runes? And a glory point. Yun's eyes lit up. 10,000 dragon scale runes was enough for him to cultivate within the Wilderness Divine Hall for 20 hours. Besides that, there was a glory point. This was even greater. The most precious things in the Tai Divine City could only be exchanged using glory points. In the entire Tai Divine City, 95% of the cultivators do not even get a single glory point in their entire 6 years. This showed how hard it was to obtain glory points. To an ordinary warrior in the Divine City, glory points were an unattainable thing. Breaking a record resulted in a high reward. Even if it was some unimportant little record, it was still extraordinary. Yun excitedly pinched the pages with his thumb and forefinger and flipped page by page. The herbs produced by the Tai Divine City Herbal Mountain had very clear categories. The most common herbs had ranks of heaven, earth, mystic, and yellow. The most commonly found herbs were mystic or yellow ranked. The corresponding amount of dragon scale runes was relatively smaller. Upon reaching the earth-ranked herbs, things became amazing. One herb could exchange for a sizable amount of dragon scale runes. But earth-ranked herbs were difficult to find. Moving up, there were heaven-ranked herbs like phoenix feathers or unicorn horns. By being lucky just once, one could obtain a massive amount of dragon scale runes. Zhou Mi, who broke the herb-picking record many years ago, obtained more than 19,000 dragon scale runes in 2 months because he had picked a few heaven-ranked herbs. But heaven-ranked herbs were not the pinnacle. Moving up, there were primordial herbs, immortal herbs, primal herbs, and other different strains of divine medicine. These herbs had ridiculous value. But this manual had no record of them. Oh. Why was there no records of the awards for the primordial herbs? Was it because the cultivators from the Tai Divine City had no chance of picking them? If that was the case, if one found primordial herbs, how would the rewards be paid out? Ian thought about this and asked the wine woman, "This junior wants to ask. If this junior breaks the herb-picking record, will I be able to leave a name on Sage Avenue?" Hearing Ian's inquiry, the wine woman became impatient. She gave Ian a glance which spelt out, "Does this have anything to do with you?" She tested her patience, saying, "The people who can leave their names on Sage Avenue completed a tough job that showcased their strength, showing that they have a chance to become a sage in the future. As for jobs like herb picking, it doesn't reflect one's strength. Even if you break the record, it has nothing to do with being a sage in the future. You will only have your name written on the exchange booklet." "I see." Actually, even if Ian could not leave his name on Sage Avenue, he did not mind. All he cared about was the benefits. "Then allow me to ask. More, is there a fixed amount of time for picking herbs? Seeing Senior Jean-Mi take exactly 60 days, does it mean everyone is given 60 days? Why are you asking so much? It can't be that you want to break the record?" The wine woman rolled her eyes at Ian, and many surrounding girls managed to laugh. Ian scratched his head and gave an innocent little brother next door look, saying, "This kid is just asking, nothing else." The herb-picking record is indeed for a period of 2 months. As for breaking this record, stop dreaming. This record has been there for thousands of years. Are you done asking? One last question, Ian said weakly. Just say it. The wine woman was speechless. This kid just kept going on and on. "Oh. It's this. This kid wants to ask, if I were to pick a primordial herb or a primal herb, will there be a special reward? I tried looking in the manual, but there's nothing about it." When Ian asked that question, the wine woman nearly threw her mirror. She opened up her pair of long, sharp eyes and looked incredulously at Ian, as if she was trying to tell if this youth had any mental problems. "What did you say?" Not only the wine woman, everyone there looked weirdly at Ian. This kid actually asked if there was a reward if he picked a primordial ranked treasure? Oh, Ian gave a look of innocence. Was such a big reaction necessary? Put. A few female herb gatherers couldn't help but laugh, and their voices rang out beautifully like a bell. "Little brother, you sure know how to dream. Let's not talk about the rarity of the primordial herbs. The Taya Divine City Herbal Mountain might not even have it. But the crux of the issue is, the entire Herbal Mountain is horrendously large. Finding a divine herb is like searching for a needle in a haystack. Even if you have God-defying luck and chanced upon a primordial herb, don't even think about picking it. These herbs have a spirit within them. They can hide. Let's not talk about primordial herbs, even heaven-ranked herbs are difficult to pick. They have all sorts of ways to protect themselves. You can walk by one without even knowing it." "Oh? There's such a thing?" Ian looked at the female herb gatherers with surprise. The herbs he picked in the tiny tribal clan were normal herbs. Ian had never heard of herbs growing a spirit. "Of course. Little brother, you really have a lot of questions. If you can really pick a good herb, the Divine City will reward you and never let you down, or even give you less than the value of the herb. The crux is, can you even pick one? The Divine City is very generous to us cultivators. These years, there were even some descendants from family clans who mixed in some herbs that they brought from their family, pretending they were harvests from the Divine Mountain to exchange for the rewards from the Divine City. I haven't heard of anyone picking herbs who tried to keep it for themselves. But then again, those heaven-ranked herbs and above have never been picked by anyone in the past couple of years. We cultivators who come to pick herbs don't have the ability, so if the Divine City's elders need any heaven-ranked herb or above, they would have to pick it themselves. But that is a huge waste of time and effort, so the elders are not willing to waste time. Even after putting so much effort, there is no guarantee of finding one. If someone were to find such a drug, the elders will be very happy and would give out a generous reward, but, it's impossible even if you want to. Thank you, sister. The female herb gatherer's words made Yi-Yun excited. It seemed like as long as he picked good herbs, the rewards given by the Divine City would be amazing. Firstly, it was because the Tai-A Divine City was generous to cultivators, and willing to nurture talent. The second reason was that the Tai-A Divine City's herb mountains herbs were grown due to the Heaven-Earth Yuan Qi, and were not intentionally planted by the Tai-A Divine City. The herbs was considered part of the divine wilderness wealth, and the divine wilderness was the common treasure of the entire world's warriors. I guess it would be difficult for me to pick a primordial herb. I might be able to find a herb with spirit within it, but to catch it, difficult. Yi-Yun knew his own strength. The primordial herbs were definitely not easy to catch. There were all sorts of treasures in the divine wilderness herb mountain. Whoever had the skill could pick it. Little brother, what's your name? The female herb gatherer found Yi-Yun amusing. His words were silly and goofy as if he was not right in the mind. It is indeed true that newborn calves are not afraid of tigers. These 15-year-old girls like such a beautiful and innocent little boy because they found him cute. Oh. My name is Yi-Yun. Seeing the female herb gatherers looking at him as if he was an object of amusement, Yi-Yun was speechless. He was an adult but was found to be amusing by these 15-year-old girls. This made Yi-Yun at a loss of whether to laugh or to cry. So it's little brother Yi-Yun. Alright, I'll remember you. My name is Zhao Qingcheng, just call me Sis Qingcheng in the future. Sis Qingcheng? Yi-Yun rolled his eyes. As if I would call you Sis Qingcheng. Zhao Qingcheng could tell Yi-Yun had no interest in her, and deliberately elongated her tone saying, Little brother Yi-Yun, this sister is from the Luohua Association. Luohua Association? Oh. Yi-Yun paused for a while, finding the name familiar. He guessed that Zhao Qingcheng had used her background to prove her strength. It was probably some large sect. Is that the name of your sect? Yi-Yun asked casually, without any interest. Zhao Qingcheng managed another laugh and chattered, Little brother, you sure are cute. In the Tai-A Divine City, many of the cultivators will form an association amongst themselves. The purpose of the association is to let the members help each other through the sharing of resources and trading. The Tai-A Divine City has all sorts of fierce competition. Forming a group has its advantages. Our Luohua Association is the biggest association in the Tai-A Divine City. The Luohua Association's president is Luo Hor, who is number 1 on the man roll of honor. You must have heard of it. So it was Luo Huayr. Yi-Yun of course remembered Luo Huayr. It was no wonder he found the name Luohua Association familiar. This Luo Hor had used her own name to create an association. This Tai-A Divine City sure is complex. The cultivators even formed their own societies. Yi-Yun secretly thought about it. But it was a rational choice. The people who came to the Tai-A Divine City were all capable people. Forming an association and deepening each other's relationships was beneficial to their own future development and other aspects. As strength came from unity, an association's strength naturally exceeded that of an individual. Chapter 176, Herb Picking Profession. Zhao Qingcheng could tell that Yi-Yun had some interest in the Luohua Association and turned slightly delighted. Little brother, it will be difficult to last in the Tai-A Divine City without being in an association. How about it, are you interested in joining our Luohua Association? Our Luohua Association has very strict entry requirements. But I will introduce you, and you can immediately become an associate member. The olive branch Zhao Qingcheng threw to Yi-Yun was rejected by him with a shake of his head. No thanks, I'll go at it alone. Associate member? What a joke. I wouldn't even join as a full member. Although Yi-Yun had these thoughts on his mind, a harmless smile was still plastered on his face. Actually, Yi-Yun knew that his current situation as a rookie kid with a medicine basket on his back made him look like a poor, low-class peasant. Who would want to accept him? Alright, if anyone bullies you, Sis here will protect you, hee hee. Zhao Qingcheng fluttered her eyes at Yi Yun before she went off with her other sisters like lark birds. Yi Yun was left holding the little booklet in a daze. The primordial herbs seemed difficult to pick. It was better for him to look for heaven-ranked herbs, which was more reliable. Even earth-ranked herbs would do. But he could not be too exaggerated in his picking. He had to toe the line. As he was thinking about this, a lioness suddenly roared behind him. Are you done? If you are done, stop dazing here blocking the path. Go elsewhere if you fancy to daze. Yi Yun jumped and turned his head and saw the Wang woman with a mirror in one hand, and the other hand tapping the table impatiently. This woman reached her menopause? Yi Yun maliciously thought, but he felt that it was not worth it to make a fuss with the bad-tempered woman. Well, the real reason is that he had no ability to make a fuss. His arms were thin, he had just arrived at the Tai Divine City and could not yet do a thing. He was just a shrimp with no presence wherever he went. But Yi Yun did not mind. He was extremely happy. Who said that there was no future in picking herbs? He just got a goal he could work hard towards. As such, Yi Yun carried the herb sickle and the herb basket that was about half his size out of the office. In this pathetic, uncouth outfit, he walked on the streets of the Tai Divine City, receiving all sorts of contempt, as well as odd and confused stares. Finally, Yi Yun reached the teleportation portal to the Herbal Mountain. When he began to pick herbs, Yi Yun realized that trying to date girls while picking herbs was an unrealistic situation. The Tai Divine City Herbal Mountain had been divided into many sectors, and each sector was immense. And many of the sectors were segregated by arrays, preventing passage into another sector. A Herbal Mountain was a wonderland nearly 1,000 miles in radius. Around the wonderland, there were multiple arrays surrounding it. In this mountain, a rich spiritual aura and the protection of arrays prevented any typical desolate beasts from entering. The Herb Mountain bred all sorts of treasures. These treasures were widely distributed on steep cliffs, deep abysses, or in the middle of a huge divine mountain. Herb gatherers were randomly sent to a herb mountain, and Yi Yun was the only person in this particular herb mountain. After the herbs were collected, a herb gatherer would have to use the teleportation portal in order to return to the Tai Divine City. Upon reaching the Tai Divine City, they had to turn over the herbs and calculate the Dragon Scale Runes rewards. Hence, the herbs picked in the Herb Mountain could not be traded or secretly kept. There was even a body search of the warriors before they went picking herbs. This was to prevent unscrupulous people from bringing their own herbs to exchange for Dragon Scale Runes. Under all these rules, herb picking was a lonely and boring job. It was hardly surprising that few people were willing to do it. But this suited Yi Yun. When his body entered the teleportation array, sparkles flew around his body and a violent wind blew, making Yi Yun feel some change. When he opened his eyes again, he was already at the base of a huge unfamiliar mountain. What Yi Yun saw made him speechless. While in the cloud wilderness, Yi Yun had seen many magnificent mountains. But those mountains could not compete with the peak in front of him. The mountain in front of him pierced the clouds and stretched far, with no end in sight. The peak was probably obscured several dozen miles away by a thick hazy mist. Under the mountain peak, lush plants grew. Ignoring the large trees, just the shrubs alone were as tall as a person. Their roots were dense and sharp, like swords and spears. There was jagged gravel that rolled down to the foot of the mountain. They were like falling meteorites that were about the size of a house. Their hardness was greater than steel. The huge, luxuriant mountain was so immense that it made one feel little. Such a big mountain, it's really a wonderland. Yi Yun sighed. This so-called herb field of the Tai Divine City was spectacular. The small part of the herbal mountain a person was transported to was already so vast. Such a large divine mountain had limitless treasures and only needed the sufficient number of opportunities to obtain them. Such a massive herbal mountain, and not the only one. The Taya Divine City sure is bottomless. I wonder how many herbs I can pick here. Ian felt more and more assured that choosing herb picking as his job was perfect. After cutting through grass taller than him, Ian walked towards the deeper parts of the herbal mountain. The air here was misty and chaotic. There was a milk-like smell of herbs in the air. When these aromas entered the body, it felt like every pore was being cleansed in top-quality nectar, making it extremely pleasurable. By just sitting here meditating, needless to say picking herbs would be extremely beneficial. Let's begin. Ian warmed up his body, and with a rub of his wrist, he felt he was at his optimal state. With this endless herb mountain that contained numerous treasures, Ian was filled with lofty sentiments. By interfacing with the purple crystal through his spiritual energy, Ian's vision slowly turned white. In Ian's vision, there was an area with slightly denser light, while another area was lacking. This meant that the different areas had different concentrations of Heaven-Earth Yuan Qi. Ian naturally headed to the place with more Heaven-Earth Yuan Qi. With a thought of his mind, the flowing mercury gown he wore had a bizarre change. The weight began to surge up, pressing down every inch of Ian's skin. Soon, a sound came out from Ian's feet. He had shattered the hard rocks under his feet. Ka ka ka. Crack lines appeared in all directions on the rocks with Ian as the center. It was as if Ian was carrying a mountain on his body. He had adjusted the weight on the flowing mercury gown to 200 cauldrons. His back was slightly bent, making him look like a strong and vigorous cheetah, poised to strike any moment. Ian could endure 350 cauldrons while frog jumping. But climbing up the herbal mountain was more difficult than frog jumping. If he took on 350 cauldrons, his strength would be quickly drained. Ian not only wanted to pick herbs, he wanted to take this opportunity to also train his body's strength, allowing himself to continuously grow to his limit. Time was of the essence. Due to the fierce competition in the Taya Divine City, Ian had to seize every second to train. Even picking herbs was a rare opportunity to train. Ian became outstanding in the cloud wilderness in a short amount of time. He had gone from an ordinary youth step by step into his current state. The word miracle was not enough to describe this. The real reason was due to the purple crystal Ian had. But using that as a foundation, Ian had worked hard, and with good, decisive use of time, he was able to take every opportunity to cultivate. It was challenging to climb such a tall mountain while wearing a 200 cauldron flowing mercury gown. After all, the herb mountain did not have any special tiles within it. 200 cauldrons of weight was enough to crush these rocks to pieces. After taking a long breath, Ian sank Qi into his dantian, and all the bones in his body began to snap. The energy at the peak of the early stages of purple blood began to ignite. With a flowing blood support, Ian was like a vigorous cheetah running through the mountain. The Taya Divine City's herbal mountain, with its limitless treasures, was awaiting Ian's discovery. Ian was full of anticipation and yearning. The road of martial arts that belonged to Ian had flipped open to an exciting new chapter. Chapter 177, Meteorite Grass. In the endless Taya herb mountain of the divine wilderness, a small figure was climbing and jumping in the mountains. With 200 cauldrons of weight of the flowing mercury gown, Ian's every step had to be careful. He could not step on mud and had to step on rocks, or his entire leg would sink into the ground. In the divine wilderness mountains, there were many rocks, and their hardness were sufficient for supporting Ian's weight. After stepping on a piece of rock, when Ian was about to take a second step, the large green rock he had rested his weight on suddenly flipped over. It was as if it could not handle the heavy weight Ian possessed, causing it to be pried out of the soil. This sudden turn of events surprised Ian. With the rock's flip, his entire body fell down. With 200 cauldrons of weight in the flowing mercury gown, if he did not change the weight in time, falling would be no laughing matter. If Ian fell on any normal rocks, they would shatter and injure him at the same time. Seeing that he was about to fall onto a large rock, Ian still did not change the weight of the flowing mercury gown. Instead, he twisted his body in the air and drew out his 1,000-army saber from his back. Sha! The human-height-long 1,000-army saber cut through the rock wall like tofu. Using this force, Ian swung his body and somersaulted back into the air. With the strength from this backflip, Ian's body, which was about to crash into the ground with his back first, managed to swing to the side. He was like a lively monkey. After traversing a distance of 3 meters and tipping his toes on a rock, Ian regained his stability. But the simple tip of his toes had crushed the rock to pieces. As a result, Ian finally had enough power to firmly land on top of a boulder. The series of moves he executed was a result of reaching the threshold of the large success stage of minute subtlety. If not, he could only have reduced the weight of the flowing mercury gown while falling off the large rock. Climbing a mountain with a weight of 200 cauldrons was difficult since he could accidentally crush the rocks he walked on. Ian was continuously attempting and experimenting. Under all these attempts, he slowly gained more and more precise control of his strength. Each ounce of strength was no more, no less than necessary. It was like he was dancing on the tip of a blade. Bang! 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 Step after step, Ian climbed up the mountain. Each step was fast and careful. Every spot he passed by looked like the step of a behemoth. There was a large crater left behind wherever he rested his feet. Every time he encountered a situation with the rocks he stepped on, Ian would use his movement skills to safely emerge. Oh! Ian suddenly realized that there was a shimmering light by a tree 100 meters away. It was like starlight. The purple crystal within Ian's body began to pulsate slightly, bringing the light's existence to Ian's attention. With Ian's cultivation level getting higher, his spiritual energy was getting more powerful, allowing him to now perceive things in a keener manner. Ian could perceive every bit of energy in a 100-meter radius. And if there was a primordial species with full of pure energy around, even if it was tens of miles away, Ian would still be able to detect one. Ian's perception was not affected even if the energy was sealed. Of course, being able to perceive sealed energy was one thing. Absorbing it was another. This was the fantastic vision that the purple crystal gave Ian, a world with energy as its building blocks. Under the guidance of the purple crystal, Ian easily found the source of the energy. Brushing away the shrubs, Ian found a fist-sized flower in between the cracks of a tree trunk. Void star flower? By looking at the flower's colors and the way the petals moved, Ian identified the flower. When he came to the Tai-A Divine City, he had read the book Divine Wilderness, which had records about the void star flower. It absorbed heaven, earth, yuan, qi, and rain to grow. It was rooted in an ordinary large tree as a parasite. But this tree was actually no different than the void star flower's own roots. Upon removing the void star flower, the tree would slowly wither away. In the divine wilderness, there were all sorts of treasures that had the ability to hide and protect themselves. If not, they would easily be eaten by desolate beasts or picked by humans. The void star flower was a high-grade yellow-ranked herb and could exchange for about 3 dragon scale runes. After going so far, all I've found is this high-grade yellow-ranked void star flower. If it's the other cultivators from the Divine City, without the purple crystal, they can only find herbs by rummaging through grass and stones. Their efficiency at picking herbs will be much lower. To find a dozen yellow-ranked herbs in a day would be quite amazing. If one was lucky, 1 or 2 mystic-ranked herbs would be a great harvest. Low-grade yellow-ranked herbs can only be exchanged for 2 dragon scale runes. Mystic-ranked herbs can get a bit more, but it's only around 10 dragon scale runes. By this way of counting, a herb-picking cultivator can, at best, receive 40 to 50 dragon scale runes in a day. But, by choosing the herb-picking job, there is a requirement of handing over at least 25 dragon scale runes of herbs a day. This was firstly a way for the Divine City to gain resources, and secondly, to prevent people from being lazy. Once 25 dragon scale runes were deducted, there will be even less. No wonder people were reluctant to pick herbs. This was indeed a lonely, boring, and dead-end job. After picking the void starflower, he carried on. By choosing to particularly step on rubble and easy-to-slip gravel, Ian kept testing his movement skills and his power control. This naturally slowed down Ian's speed. A typical herb-picking cultivator would begin searching for herbs upon reaching the herb mountain. They wouldn't have the time to care about anything else. If they could not hand over 25 dragon scale runes, then their dragon scale runes would go in the negative. Upon reaching negative dragon scale runes for 2 consecutive days, the Divine City would remove the free lodging privileges, causing one to sleep on the streets. For a warrior, sleeping on the streets was nothing, and not really a punishment, but it would be extremely shameful. Those who could come to the Tai-A Divine City were all prideful people. But to end up being ineligible to live in the Divine City's free lodgings to the point of sleeping on the streets, it would bring great ridicule upon the news traveling back to their family clans. They might as well kill themselves. Hence the people who came herb picking would not dare to skive. But Yun proceeded slowly into the herb mountain. Most of the time, he was practicing his movement skills. As for picking herbs, he did that casually. With the purple crystal, he had a 100% efficiency rate. Soon, Ian's herb basket was filled with a dozen kinds of herbs, mostly of the yellow rank. Ian estimated that the herbs were only worth about 30 or so dragon scale runes. Oh, that is. Ian looked up and discovered that there was a fuzzy energy fluctuation several hundreds of meters away. The energy fluctuation was more intense than the yellow-ranked herbs he had previously found. It has to be a mystic-ranked herb. Ian licked his lips and began using his movement skill to head towards the energy fluctuation like an agile monkey. Ian interfaced his spiritual energy with the purple crystal. From his perspective, there was a huge blob of heaven-earth yuan qi, burning like a fire cluster. It was apparent that there was some spiritual item at its origin. But exiting from the purple crystal's vision, all Ian saw was a black rock. The black rock was rough on the surface, and was full of tiny potholes. It looked no different than an ordinary rock, with no sign of a herb. Ian stroked his chin, and recalled an entry in the Divine Wilderness book. He quickly understood what this rock in front of him was. Ian drew out his 1,000 army saber and slashed down. Cha! With a light sound, the black rock was cut into 2. So hard. Guess I was right. Ian's eyes lit up. The 1,000 army saber was able to cut through metal like mud, and with his strength, even a thick metal wall would be easily cleaved by Ian, not to mention a rock. Yet, the rock in front of Ian, although it had split open, still caused numbness in Ian's hands. This was no ordinary rock, but a meteorite. As expected of a meteorite. Due to the falling process, the meteor would turn hot due to the friction with heaven-earth yuan qi, eventually bursting into flames. The fire would burn off any impurities, and heaven-earth yuan qi essence will enter the rock. Through this way of casting, the rock would be on a completely different level than typical metals. It was the same as a blacksmith forging metal by hitting it tens of millions of times. The meteorite Ian split was smooth on the inside. It was grayish-white. Within the grayish-white texture, there was a hole the size of a thumb which was very conspicuous. Ian put his finger into the hole to clasp it and a smile appeared on his face. He quickly dug out a worm from the hole. However, this was not a worm, but something known as meteorite grass. It was a tuber-like plant. Meteorite grass will send its seeds flying tens of thousands of miles away into the vast wilderness, finding a place to root. It would be attracted by meteorites, especially metallic ones, before landing on the surface of a meteorite. The meteorite grass seed will then secrete a corrosive liquid and, after a few years, it would slowly tunnel into the meteorite, taking root. Then, the meteorite grass will be like a worm in an apple. It will slowly crawl and make thumb-sized tunnels within. It will absorb the meteorite's essence, allowing it to grow. These sort of amazing plants made Ian sigh. In the divine wilderness, there were all sorts of wonders. The life forms here exceeded Yun's past knowledge. Meteorite grass. Middle grade mystic ranked herb. As there aren't that many, it wasn't easy to find. The Taya Divine City's manual says that this can be exchanged for 82 dragon scale runes. After Yun began practicing martial arts, his memory had become extremely good. He had already memorized all the dragon scale runes rewards within the manual. Mystic ranked herbs began at 10 dragon scale runes. Based on the herb's value, a few rare mystic ranked herbs could be worth as much as 100 dragon scale runes, more than some earth ranked herbs. Oh. This should do for the day. I'll prepare to leave. I shouldn't be too ridiculous on my first day picking herbs. Chapter 178, The One Who Wants to Break the Record. Yun had originally intended to pick a few herbs on his first day. If he picked hundreds of herbs on his first day, it would be too amazing. After all, in the future, if Yun carried on picking so many herbs, it would arouse the suspicions and doubts of others. Zhongyi's record was due to the quality of herbs he picked, not the quantity. With a keen perception and a certain amount of luck, it was not surprising to pick exquisite herbs. Just by picking a few herbs that were worth 1,000 dragon scale runes, one could easily get tens of thousands dragon scale runes. Hence, it was reasonable to break the record this way. If he did not use this method, and broke the record in terms of quantity by picking 10 to 20 times more herbs, then something would be amiss. Hence, Yun wanted to win according to the quality of herbs he picked, not the quantity. There had to be a gradual process in breaking the record. After collecting these herbs, Yun began to concentrate on training his movement skills. He practiced for most of the day. While practicing his movement skills, Yun still managed to find some herbs here and there. After some hesitation, Yun also plucked these herbs. One of the yellow-ranked herbs he picked was a duskwood fruit. The Divine City exchanged this duskwood fruit for 50 dragon scale runes. This duskwood fruit was one of the best herbs among the yellow-ranked herbs. It was worth even more than some of the low-grade mystic-ranked herbs. Today's harvest was estimated to be about 200 dragon scale runes. This was 7 to 8 times what a normal cultivator could obtain. Yun touched his nose and helplessly smiled. He had accidentally picked more than 200 dragon scale runes. For a typical rookie to pick 30-odd dragon scale runes, just barely enough to pay the rent, was considered pretty good. By slowly accumulating experience, one was able to pick about 40 to 50 dragon scale runes worth of herbs. To pick 200 in his first day was somewhat exaggerated. But upon careful thought, compared to Zhongyi, who left the record of 19,000, he was still inferior. Zhongyi's average returns each day was above 300 dragon scale runes. That was every day. This number was quite amazing. For Zhongyi to pick so many highly ranked herbs, it clearly could not be explained by mere luck alone. Of course, picking herbs needed luck. Picking a heaven-ranked herb due to luck was not surprising. But luck was not something that was unlimited. 1 or 2 lucky days was possible, but not every single day. This senior Zhongyi must have had some keen perception, or some other advantage. He must have had some special ability to leave behind such a record. In this world, there were extremely few people who had natural sharp instincts. Some people could observe their surroundings and remember every detail of the scene, such as the position of each blade of grass. These people were like alert animals. It was very difficult to sneak up on them. This intuition might not bring much to a person's fighting strength, but, if they entered a dangerous mystic realm, this intuition would often save their lives. Yun believed Zhongyi was such a person. With Zhongyi's record, if he picked 200 dragon scale runes worth of herbs, it should not attract too much attention. People will just think he was lucky. In the evening, when Yun saw the setting red sun, he spat out a mouthful of foul air and sat down to meditate. When the sun completely set, Yun arranged his herbs and went through the teleportation array back to the Tai A Divine City. Besides his harvest of herbs, Yi-yun could clearly feel that during his herb-picking journey, the 200 cauldron flowing mercury gown had been forging his body. It made his body better and allowed him to perfectly absorb the primordial species energy. At the same time, under the huge pressure, he had managed to gain better control of his strength, allowing him to have a deeper understanding of the large success stage of minute subtlety. Upon returning to the job office, Yi-yun saw a bunch of girls with herb baskets handing over their herbs. These herb-picking girls, regardless of origin, wore coarse clothes in the Tai-a Divine City. They did not put on any makeup, making them look like simple village girls, and were like a breath of fresh air. "Sister Wang, you pressed too hard with the steelyard. I can't even afford my meals, and you still want to press it like that," a little girl said with a pettishly charming voice. However, Wang was completely immune to it. With a foot-long rod, a pigeon egg-sized weight, and a shiny plate, she measured the weight of the herbs. The herbs handed over by the girl was placed into a moisture-removing array by Wang before its weight was measured. The herb's weight was checked by Wang, and it would not be a big deal if she made some tiny changes to the number she recorded. But she was incorruptible and mean, so no one could gain any advantage from her. "Next." Wang impatiently waved and ignored the petulant lowly. The lowly spat out her tongue and retreated. Behind her were a few of the girls that Yi-yun had met here earlier. The head of these girls was Zhao Qingcheng, and they were all from the Luohua Association. Zhao Qingcheng saw Yi-yun at the outset, but she did not greet him this time. Low-grade yellow-ranked herbs, 545 grams rounding down to the nearest 50 grams, it will be counted as 500. A total of 100 dragon scale runes. Wang deftly kept her steelyard. She rattled off a string of words rapidly. It was impossible to tell what she said without carefully listening. In fact, with Wang's cultivation level and keen perception, she could accurately tell the weight of the herbs using her hand. But she liked to use the steelyard to measure because by sliding the scale back and forth, it also pulled on the hearts of many cultivators. 95 grams. Hearing this number, the jovial Zhao Qingcheng could no longer smile. Typically, only middle-grade yellow-ranked and above herbs would be computed one by one. Most of the low-grade yellow-ranked herbs were all mixed together and dried using an array and given 10 dragon scale runes for every 50 grams. By rounding down the last 45 grams, it made her heart ache. She just needed 5 more grams. Although low-grade yellow-ranked herbs were not valuable to these herb-picking girls, this was their main source of income. The higher-grade herbs were too difficult to find. For example, Yi-yun's meteorite grass was hiding inside a rock. Only by cutting open the rock would one see it. Who could find something like that? Zhao Qingcheng's little group had 4 girls. With all their middle-grade and upper-grade herbs, their day's combined revenue was 166 dragon scale runes. Subtracting the 100 dragon scale runes rent, there was only 66 left, averaging to about 15 to 16 dragon scale runes per person. This income was terrible. AI, why the hell didn't I pick one more herb? Just a few leaves would make up 5 grams. Zhao Qingcheng heart chagrined. She looked at Wang and persisted, "Sister Wang, I'm just short of 5 grams to reach 550 grams. Just let it pass." "Do you know, Sister Wang, we had found an extremely good elixir a few days ago. And the price was reasonable and was perfect for us sisters to use. We bit our teeth and borrowed 200 dragon scale runes from the Divine City's bank and, together with our savings, we bought the elixir. This loan has a 15% interest rate, and the interest compounds. If we can't return it in 3 months, we sisters will be sleeping on the street. Seeing that it's nearly the end of the month, we are just short of the 200 dragon scale runes. If we have enough, we can return it. If we can't return it, we still need to pay a month's interest. What do you?" As Zhao Qingcheng said it, she stared at Wang with a watery, wide-eyed, appealingly innocent gaze and fluttered her eyelashes. Wang had put down her steelyard and was about to take her precious mirror. Hearing Zhao Qingcheng say so much, she did not even raise her head. She adjusted her hair and after a while said coldly, "What has all that crap you said have to do with me?" Zhao Qingqing's smile froze. She carried on smiling obsequiously, "Sis Wang's mirror is so exquisite. I say, Sis Wang is so pretty. If I were as pretty as Sis Wang, I'll never part from the mirror." "Thanks." Wang accepted Zhao Qingqing's praise, and then carried on fiddling with the small mirror in her hand. She was impenetrable. Zhao Qingqing was wrecked. No matter how she counted, there was no way she could pay that sum of dragon scale runes. 15% interest would mean another month of scrimping and saving. If they still couldn't return it, they had to sleep on the streets. For a bunch of girls to sleep on the street, and looked at by a bunch of male animals in the Tai Divine City, this was an absolute disgrace. Yi Yun heard the conversation between Zhao Qingqing and Wang. This was the first time he knew that the Tai Divine City had a bank. So it was possible for people with negative dragon scale runes to maintain a decent living by relying on loans. But 15% compounded interest meant the bank was pretty much in usury. By lending 100 dragon scale runes, the next month would be 115, and the following month 132. Even a lot of usuries were not that bad. No wonder Zhao Qingqing was under so much pressure. If they could not return the loan to an usury within the short period of time, it would be nearly impossible in the future. Who would want to keep bearing a high-interest loan during their 6 years of training? And the interest kept rolling up. Of course, this had nothing to do with Yi Yun. At this time, Wang put down her mirror and allowed Yi Yun to weigh his herbs. "Hey, aren't you the one who wants to break the record? What are you standing there for? Hurry and hand them over." Wang appeared very impatient. Her expression said to hand over the herbs quickly and go to a corner. Don't waste this elder sister's precious time. Chapter 179, Handing Herbs Over. The one who wants to break the record? Hearing the way Wang addressed him, Yi Yun nearly choked. This woman sure had a foul mouth. He had only asked a few questions and she was being this sarcastic about it. But all right. Although he did want to break the record, he had not said it out loud. "Little brother Yi Yun, it's you." Zhao Qingqing looked at Yi Yun and forced a smile. She transmitted her voice, "This woman is a hedgehog. She wants to prick anyone she sees. She's also a metallic rooster made of black iron. She's so stingy that she won't allow you to pluck out even a single feather. You will know once you hand over your herbs today. She will reduce the price of your herbs drastically. Many rookies can't even pay the 25 dragon scale runes rent." Zhao Qingqing was full of complaints. She was still worried over the usury. The few herb-picking girls were all at a loss. To cultivators, dragon scale runes was too precious. They had to pinch every penny to lead their days, wishing they could use one dragon scale rune as two. "Thank you Sis Zhao's advice. Why does Sister Wang have such a bad temper?" Yi Yun asked casually. "Who knows? I heard that she was a cultivator in the Tai Divine City. Then she found another cultivator who she liked and got engaged. Later, due to some mishap, the person she liked died while cultivating. Later on, this Wang woman stayed behind in the Tai Divine City. She's actually very strong, but is not friendly with anyone, hence she was sent to be in charge of miscellaneous jobs." This, Yi Yun did not expect for this to happen. Hearing this story, he could feel the brutality of cultivating in the Tai Divine City. It was so easy to die. Sis has to tell you. Dragon scale runes are very precious. Every dragon scale rune has to be wisely spent. Do not waste them. It's difficult for rookies to earn dragon scale runes. You make about 10 or so a day, and there are many places you need to use them in the future. Zhao Qingqing knew this all too well. Yi Yun nodded. He felt that although Zhao Qingqing was never serious with her words, she was still a good person. At this time, Wang had already lifted the steelyard, and said to Yi Yun, herb picking is the same for rookies and veterans. 25 dragon scale runes, not one less. If there's not enough, then we will have to reduce your dragon scale runes to below 0. Wang dragged out her tone and played with the pigeon egg-sized weight, knocking it on the table. Of course, if you don't want to sleep on the streets, you can choose to be like those debtors and borrow from the bank. As for the interest, for rookies, it's less. Only 12%, but of course it compounds. While saying this, Wang glanced at Zhao Qingcheng and company. They all turned red with embarrassment. This Wang woman's mouth was too foul. Yi Yun was nonchalant upon hearing Wang's words. He placed his herb basket onto the table. Wang pulled away the cloth covering the basket and reached in to pull out the herbs. But, with this grab, a strange expression appeared on Wang's face. Having been in the herb-picking office for so long, she was extremely sensitive to herbs. With this reach, she could feel something amiss. Upon looking inside the basket, she gave an odd look. She flipped the herb basket and her face gradually froze. Oh! Zhao Qingcheng and company also noticed Wang's expression, and were curious about what had happened. These were picked by you? Wang raised her head and measured Yi Yun from head to toe, as if this was the first time seeing him. Yi Yun nodded. Zhao Qingcheng and company also came to realize that something had happened. They came over out of curiosity and looked into the basket and were immediately stunned. Void starflower, Ponyo roots. Oh! This is duskwood fruit, a treasure among yellow-ranked herbs, and, what is this? Zhao Qingcheng took out a worm-like object. After looking at it for a good while, she recalled the record in the Divine Wilderness book. This, it can't be, meteorite grass? Zhao Qingcheng had picked herbs for a long time and had only encountered a few low-grade mystic rank herbs, which were all very common ones among the mystic rank herbs. And meteorite grass was a middle-grade mystic ranked herb that nearly approached upper-grade mystic rank. Among the middle-grade mystic ranked herbs, meteorite grass was extremely rare. It was not easy to find one and it was worth a lot. Zhao Qingcheng had never seen the meteorite grass in the Tai Herb Mountain, hence it took a while for her to recognize it. Humph. To pick herbs with your knowledge, even with the herb in front of you, you still cannot recognize it. What's the point of picking? Wang mocked Zhao Qingcheng. Indeed, herbs in the Divine Wilderness were very difficult to find. If one was lucky enough to see one and not recognize it, it would be a great waste. But, this situation has happened to a lot of cultivators. Unless one was an alchemist, how would one see the various kinds of herbs? Also, the herbs in the Divine Wilderness were different from those in the Central Plains. Alchemists who did not have enough experience had to learn, on the spot, how to identify herbs. Typical cultivators would rely on the records written in the Divine Wilderness book. But after all, a book was a book. Just from some drawings and description, it was difficult to perfectly describe the different properties of the herbs. It was very common to not recognize one. It was common for rookies to have dismal results picking herbs. Many herbs were missed due to their ignorance. In fact, those who could recognize most of the herbs from the Herb Mountain's thousands of species of plants using just a book's record were abnormal. And now, Yi Yun was one of those abnormal people in Zhao Qingcheng's mind. In the Taiya Divine City's herbal mountain, many of the grass, shrubs, woods and plants all looked similar to herbs. It was not easy to distinguish which was which. Many rookies had situations when they picked the wrong plant. Many spirit plants had some spirit gathered within it, making it look like a herb. Also, many herbs could hide themselves, making it even more difficult to find them. For Yi Yun to pick so many herbs on his first time was ridiculous. This void starflower. How did you find it? Void starflower could transform to make itself look like a tree, hiding itself. Zhao Qingcheng had not picked a void starflower in all of her months here. Oh. Doesn't the Divine Wilderness book say? A void starflower will make itself look like a tree. But the tree it creates will have a speckled texture. Like when clouds clear, leaving behind a void of star-like water droplets, hence the reason for its name. Hearing Yi Yun's explanation, Zhao Qingcheng looked at Yi Yun as if she had seen a freak. Of course, Zhao Qingcheng knew how the void starflower got its name and how to distinguish the fake tree made by a void starflower and other plants. But how small were the water droplets left behind after the clouds clear? In the Tai Divine City's herbal mountain, it was filled with trees and would take a day to travel through it. At the speed a warrior traveled, they would see tens of thousands of trees. Who would notice that a single tree had some sparkles? Especially when the sparkles were about the size of a pinhole. How did Yi Yun get these eyes? Zhao Qingcheng could not believe it. The four girls crowded around Yi Yun. Yi Yun could not stand it. Why are you surrounding me like that? You are even drooling. Yi Yun saw that a girl about the same age as him, who was standing beside Zhao Qingcheng, drooling while looking at the meteorite grass in Zhao Qingcheng's hands. That 13-year-old girl quickly wiped her mouth and sheepishly smiled. This meteorite grass was worth 80 dragon scale runes. It was a treasure. They were going mad from being poor, and they naturally wanted it. And standing beside the meteorite grass, they could smell its milky scent, which was very appetizing. Brother Yi Yun, how did you find this meteorite grass? This young girl was a family friend of Zhao Qingcheng. She had just come to the Tai Divine City and was following Zhao Qingcheng, being under her care. But clearly, Zhao Qingcheng was not doing too well in the Tai Divine City. She could only give limited care to this girl. At most, she could introduce the various rules and bring her around. When this young girl asked, everyone looked towards Yi Yun. Although the void starflower was difficult to find, at least it had some defining characteristics. It was no wonder he could find it if Yi Yun had ridiculous observational powers. But for meteorite grass, it hid within stones and could not be seen from the surface. Only upon cleaving a rock open would you see it. But there were more rocks than trees in the Tai Divine City's herb mountain. How could you cleave open so many? Chapter 180, Dragon Rune Ranking. Simple. Facing the young lady's inquiry on how he found the meteorite grass, Yi Yun gave an indifferent look as if it was not an issue at all. Of course I can't cut every rock open. But meteorite grass can be found inside meteorites. I happen to know meteorites well. There may be many rocks in the Tai Divine City's herb mountain, but there are few meteorites. I just opened every meteorite up. You know what meteorites are? The young ladies asked again. They only had a vague concept of things like meteorites and they were not sure what it was because they were still young. Yi Yun said, meteorites may look the same on the surface as normal rocks, but there is actually a difference. When a meteorite is falling, the heat bearing on it is extremely high. It will burn and melt in the heaven-earth Yuan Qi, forming a molten shell on its surface. And it is shiny and glossy black, which makes it different from other rocks. Also, it falls at an extremely high speed, thus, it burns through a path of heaven-earth Yuan Qi, leaving behind a texture of being blown on by heaven-earth Yuan Qi when it cools. Although it is not obvious, you can look for this wind pattern. Yi Yun began to speak at random. He came up with a random story which wasn't entirely clear. Based on the knowledge he had of meteorites in his past life coupled with his own imagination, it sounded amazing. However, validating the story was not easy. Distinguishing meteorites was like appraising jade. It was not something someone could learn after hearing a few words. Every meteorite was different. The characteristics he mentioned could be found in some kinds of meteorites, so he was not exactly saying nonsense. Even if someone proved that he was speaking nonsense in the future, there were no rules against speaking nonsense. There was always competition among the geniuses in the Tai Divine City, hence, others would think he was making up nonsense so he would not share his secrets with others. Sure enough, Zhao Qingcheng and company believed him. Even Won could not find fault with Yi Yun's words. Since Yi Yun's words were reasonable, and as a warrior, Wang would not have done any research on meteorites. Brother Yi Yun sure is great. You can even find a meteorite amongst all of those stones. The 13-year-old girl was looking at Yi Yun with sparkles in her eyes. She wanted to accompany Yi Yun while he picked herbs. However, according to the rules of the Taiya Divine City, warriors had to be alone while picking herbs. It was to prevent them from privately exchanging herbs. If not, by combining 20 to 30 people's worth of herbs all to one person, one could easily break the record. Yi Yun began to take out all sort of numerous herbs. After counting each one and drying the low-grade yellow-ranked herbs, Wang quickly counted Yi Yun's actual harvest, 208 dragon scale runes. 208. The few girls behind Yi Yun drew in a cold breath of air. Although they had already guessed in their hearts, when the number came out, they were still shocked. It was too ridiculous. They had been arduously picking herbs all these days just to pay the bank loan. And that loan was only 200 dragon scale runes. The amount of dragon scale runes the four of them borrowed was earned by Yi Yun in a day. It was really an exasperating comparison. Your luck sure isn't bad. Maybe you have some skill. After keeping Yi Yun's herbs, Wang used her slender eyes to size up Yi Yun. No wonder you asked so much about breaking records. Looks like you are pretty confident. Alright, bring your token here. Back when Yi Yun entered his residence, Baldy Chin had issued him the token. The front of the token was filled with inscriptions, and on the back were the words Divine Wilderness. Each token was inscribed with 10 dragon scale runes at the beginning. Yi Yun's token was no different. After taking over the token from him, Wang used her spirit to imprint within. After a few seconds, some thickly dotted golden sparkling runes flew from her token to Yi Yun's token. It was like a bunch of tiny golden bees. Zhao Qingcheng and company looked by the sidelines. Those golden runes made them envious. After Yi Yun's token absorbed all the dragon scale runes, some golden lines appeared on the surface. They were like dragon scales, and extremely beautiful. Thanks. Yi Yun grinned, taking his token back. At this rate, in about 4 to 5 days, he would be able to accumulate enough dragon scale runes to enter the Wilderness Divine Hall. This. Little brother Yi Yun. Just as Yi Yun was prepared to leave the job's office, Zhao Qingcheng called out to Yi Yun with a flushed face. Oh? What's the matter? Yi Yun looked at Zhao Qingcheng, and from the way she wished to say something, Yi Yun guessed what it was about. About this. You want to borrow runes? Yi Yun hit the nail on the head, making Zhao Qingcheng extremely awkward. After all, she was not familiar with Yi Yun, so it was not easy to ask to borrow dragon scale runes. In the Taiya Divine City, loans between cultivators were not protected by the officials of the Divine City. There were no terms of conditions or anything. In a nutshell, the Divine City did not support the borrowing of dragon scale runes among cultivators. What the Taiya Divine City supported was fair trade and gambling fights. If one wanted returns, they had to prove their strength. There was no such thing as reaping without sowing. To borrow dragon scale runes, one had to borrow from the bank. With an interest rate of 12 to 15%, very few people dared to take out a loan, because it was easy to fall into an abyss of debt. As for the private loans between warriors, the Divine City had no way of interfering. Of course, one had to be ready in case the other party might not return it. Besides, no one was rich in dragon scale runes, and everyone had to pinch their every penny. To borrow from others? Difficult. About this. We just want to return the loan from the bank. We just need 30 dragon scale runes. No, just 20 would do. Is it possible? Zhao Qingcheng said with her face flushed and no longer had any clout in her words. Yesterday, she had asked if Yi Yun wanted to become an associate member in the Luohuat Association. Also, she said that she would protect Yi Yun if he ever needed help. But today, she wanted to borrow dragon scale runes from Yi Yun. Not only was she not protecting Yi Yun ended up protecting her. Upon recalling the words she said yesterday, Zhao Qingcheng was ashamed and embarrassed. 20. Yi Yun knitted his brows. To him, this was nothing. At his speed of making 200-odd dragon scale runes a day, he could enter the Wilderness Divine Hall in 5 days. Lending Zhao Qingcheng 20 dragon scale runes would not affect the time it took for him to enter the Wilderness Divine Hall. Having met by chance, Yi Yun was under no obligation to help Zhao Qingcheng, but since it was as easy as lifting a finger for him, Yi Yun did not reject it after some thought. To get to know another person in the Divine City would be beneficial. After all, it might be of use in the future. He asked, Sister Zhao, I want to ask something. Previously, on the Roll of Honor, I saw that Luo Horror was number 1 on the man ranking. But she was ranked rather far back in the Heaven and Earth ranking. What's the matter with the man ranking? The man ranking. The man ranking is dragon scale runes. The amount of dragon scale runes on your token and the amount of resources bought from the Divine City will be combined to form a rank. Senior Luo is number 1 on that. But Senior Luo isn't as rich as you think. Senior Luo earns a lot, but she spends a lot as well. She often worries about dragon scale runes. She's a Desolate Heaven master, and she needs to practice the Desolate Heaven skill, so she needs a sizable amount of dragon scale runes. I see, Yi Yun finally understood. Since the Taya Divine City allowed private trade among the cultivators, as a Desolate Heaven master, she would earn dragon scale runes quickly. But the practice of the Desolate Heaven skill is very expensive, so although Luo Horror was number 1 on the man roll of honor, she was not very rich. It should be said that with the rules set by the Taya Divine City, no one could end up being rich. The dragon scale runes were used to buy resources. There were many resources in the Taya Divine City that were astronomical in price. No matter how much dragon scale runes one had, it could be easily spent. 20 dragon scale runes, I can lend it to you. Really? Thank you so much. Zhao Qingcheng was pleasantly surprised. Yi Yun was a great help for her this time round. Yi Yun's dragon scale runes could be used to pay off the month's interest, which was a timely gift. I'll return you on the 5th of next month. Zhao Qingcheng said with immense gratitude. She left behind a voice transmission mark with Yi Yun, facilitating their contact in the future. Okay. Yi Yun nodded. After Yi Yun left, Zhao Qingcheng still felt like she was in a dream. This little brother had ridiculous observational power. He seems to be as old as me. The young lady from before said helplessly. She was also about 12 years of age, and she still subconsciously felt that she was still a child. But the things Yi Yun did, was it something that a child could do? Yeah. That Yi Yun might one day become a rising star. If we have cordial relations with him, it might perhaps help out our family. Zhao Qingcheng began making her calculations. Even if Yi Yun's cultivation level was nothing in the future, just his observational skill would be beneficial. When warriors went to dangerous mystic realms on expeditions, a keen sense and observation could save lives. Partying up with these sort of people was an assuring matter.